What if you poured the oceans into space? Let's say, just for fun, that one day we decide to take all of Earth's oceans, all 1.3 billion cubic kilometers of water, and pour them into outer space. Not move them to another planet, not store them in giant tanks, but literally fling every drop past Earth's atmosphere and let it drift into the void. Maybe with a giant space hose. Why? No reason, Keira asked. At first, nothing too dramatic would happen. The oceans wouldn't vanish in a snap. They'd start receding slowly, like an ultra-fast version of the tide pulling out. Water levels would drop by the meter every second, beaches would stretch into deserts, and fish would have exactly one very confusing day. Coastal cities would find themselves inland. Ships would be left sitting awkwardly on the muddy ocean floor like forgotten toys. But here's where things get weird, and fast. With no oceans, Earth would suddenly lose over 1% of its total mass. That might not sound like much, but in the delicate balance of the solar system, it's enough to cause problems. Our planet's gravitational pull would weaken ever so slightly. The Moon, which dances around Earth in a careful orbit, would feel that difference. It might start drifting away faster than it already is. Or worse, its orbit could destabilize entirely. And since the Moon controls our tides, well, never mind, there are no tides anymore. Now back to Earth. With no oceans to moderate temperature, things get extreme. Normally, water acts like a planetary air conditioner, absorbing heat during the day and releasing it at night. Without it, days get scorching hot and nights become freezing. Deserts spread across what used to be the Pacific. Snowstorms rage in areas that were once tropical. The equator becomes a frying pan, and the poles get even colder if that's possible. But hang on, we forgot about the oxygen. About 50 to 80% of the oxygen we breathe is produced by tiny ocean plants called phytoplankton. No oceans means no phytoplankton, which means, very soon, no breathable air. Trees and land plants would do their best, but they can't pick up the slack for the entire ocean. Humans would have to invent a lot of oxygen tanks very quickly, or build domes, or just move to Mars. Not that it has oceans either, but at least it's not actively trying to smother us with our own bad decisions. Also, you know what else lives in the oceans? All marine life. From blue whales to coral reefs to deep-sea creatures that look like rejected Pokemon, gone. Extinct. The global food chain collapses like a Jenga tower hit by a wrecking ball. Billions of people who depend on fish for food and jobs would face immediate crisis. Entire economies would vanish with the tide. But let's talk about the part where we actually pour the oceans into space. Water in space doesn't stay water for long. Once it leaves Earth's atmosphere, exposed to the vacuum, it instantly boils and freezes at the same time. A fun trick called sublimation. The water turns into gas and ice crystals that scatter across the solar system. Some of it might fall back to Earth as snow, though not nearly enough. Some might drift toward the Moon. A lot would just keep floating forever, forming a sort of invisible planet-sized mist cloud. Congratulations, you've created the galaxy's largest accidental fog machine. Now let's pretend the water drifts toward the sun. You'd expect it to just evaporate and disappear, right? Well, not quite. The sun is already filled with hydrogen, and water is 2/3 hydrogen. If you dumped enough water into the sun, it would make it very slightly bigger and hotter. Not enough to fry Earth, unless you got really enthusiastic with your space hose. On Earth, everything starts to shrink, not physically, but metaphorically. Borders vanish where oceans once were. Countries gain or lose thousands of kilometers of land overnight. Underwater mountains like the Mid-Atlantic Ridge become visible, creating new continents. Old shipwrecks resurface. The Titanic finally gets a sunburn. Climate refugees would number in the billions. You'd think no more rising sea levels would be good news, but when the alternative is no water at all, it's hard to celebrate. Rivers dry up, lakes vanish, rain stops falling, because the water cycle is now broken. The atmosphere still has some moisture, but once it rains out, there's no ocean left to evaporate more. Welcome to Dust Earth. Eventually, Earth begins to look like Mars, red, cracked, and lifeless. Without the weight of the oceans pressing down, the Earth's crust would rebound upward, a process called isostatic rebound, causing massive earthquakes and volcanic eruptions. The very land shifts as the planet adjusts to its new reality. Mountains rise, valleys collapse. The continents get a facelift, but not the good kind. The most ironic part? Despite pouring water into space, the last survivors on Earth will die of thirst. But hey, at least Earth would finally win the which planet is driest competition. Take that, Mercury. And if you're wondering whether we could ever get the water back, probably not. Water molecules in space are easily broken apart by sunlight and solar radiation. Hydrogen floats away, oxygen bonds with whatever's nearby. It wouldn't be a matter of scooping the oceans back up. We'd need to recreate them from scratch, with billions of tons of hydrogen. in an even bigger bucket. So Keira, maybe next time we keep the oceans where they are. Because dumping them into space might be the quickest way to turn Earth into a spinning, sun-scorched potato. But the sunsets, oh, they'd be beautiful.